Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Go ahead.
Finally, a direction to go in this county that's not everywhere.
Okay, so just one direction. I apologize if you see me cover my head. I have a really bad migraine, so I apologize. So scientific reading, you want one source, one direction. Something to help address maybe concerns of dyslexia, risk of dyslexia, anything else. What about over here?
How to incorporate it into
How to incorporate it. So we know this is focusing on our tier 1 instruction, but then you want to know how can we supplement tier 2 and tier 3. Okay, got you. Anybody over here? Anybody?
Maybe some type of acceleration for our gifted students.
So the things that you're sharing, I hope to address them, but because it is the afternoon and my 5 shots of espresso from this morning have worn off, if I do not hone in or hit those things, please remind me, okay? Because I do want to make sure that your questions are answered. All right, so for today, we are going to identify how Into Reading fits into your instructional block. We are going to explore the many resources that Into Reading offers through our friend called Ed. And then I'm going to prepare you for your next steps to make sure you can continue your learning on your teacher success pathway. If you scan this how-to guide, it will be all the slides plus more that I'm going to cover. I did tailor when I was told I had interventionists, well, really primary grade. I did kind of tailor the presentation a little bit more. So you'll see more slides in that how-to guide. There also will be videos that you'll be able to reference. And my main goal, I want you to feel comfortable moving through all the resources. So I really want to give you time. I'm going to pivot a bit so you can explore the resources, maybe do a little planning, and just think about your next steps and have a thought partner with your team. You cool? Okay. Sorry. It's just a little hard. Did everyone get it? Okay. Just go ahead and and I also want to tell you today, before we get into it, I shared this with our last group. I don't know if anyone's familiar with John Hattie and collective teacher advocacy. It's something that I believe heavily in and I share with my schools in different districts. But I understand that this is a new curriculum, right? I understand it's a fresh new year. It's maybe a new grade level, a new school, a new district. You have a new curriculum, and you also, as my friend pointed out, new standards, right? It's a lot of change. So I just want you to know that your belief and how you receive this can have the greatest impact on your students. So collectively, we have kindergarten, first, second, and our intervention teachers, right? The way you go into this and your mindset is going to affect the achievement of your students, right? So I just ask that you're open-minded. Because there are a lot of resources and you don't have everything in front of you right now because it's in your classroom, you will have time to internalize what I'm speaking about. But just know that you have time. Your district has really done a lot of the lifting for you. And you have the autonomy and flexibility. We're going to slow down the pacing. And you also have the autonomy to kind of focus on focus standards, okay? Because it is new. So your district, it has realized that and has allowed for some flexibility. We ready to move on? Did everyone get the how-to guide? All right, so I want to just hear, what were you doing last year in your literacy block? So what was going on in your direct instruction, in your guided practice? What were you doing in small groups? And then how did you allow students to reflect on their learning? So just go ahead and share with me so I can get an idea of what you were doing and I can just better know how we can integrate into reading into your block. So what were you doing last year for your direct instruction and your guided practice? Not all at once, go ahead. There's no right or wrong answer. It could be like me, my first year teaching second grade from fifth grade. My direct instruction, especially for phonics, I played the letter A, like the letter videos on YouTube because that's what I had, right? I was going with the flow. That's what my instruction in my literacy block looked like. And I love figurative language, so I hit that hard. Character, setting, that I was going with the flow. That was my block. So what were you doing last year? Anybody? No one? Some friends, teachers pay teachers a lot. Teachers pay teachers. So what I will tell you, with Into Reading, you will not have to pay for any resources. When I tell you that resources are you won't have to pay. Anybody else? So teachers pay teachers. Did you feel like maybe you were going with the flow? Were you able to even get to your small group? Oh, okay.
Every day.
Oh, really?
We're kindergarten. We're
it's
a small group. You want to know how to teach a small group? Come to kindergarten.
All right, so what I'm gonna show you an example of how Into Reading can look, okay? We understand, or I understand rather, that your needs, your time restraints, the needs of your students might be a little bit different. So what I'm gonna show you is an example of how you can integrate Into Reading into your current time blocks, okay? All right, so for Into Reading, there are two models for Into Reading. My friend over here that mentioned science of reading. I just want you to know that Into Reading is based in science of reading, okay? However, as new research comes and as we get feedback from teachers, they decided to go from a foundational path of teaching phonics skills to structured literacy. Your district is following the structured literacy path, okay? So with that, you'll focus on your phonological awareness. If anyone is familiar with OG or letters training, a lot of what you had from OG and letters, it is aligned to this. So you'll have a lot of visual, auditory, and blending, your phonics focus skills. You'll work on handwriting, that spelling, and that dictation, because not only is it important for students to be able to decode, but we want them to encode as well. And then you'll work on your irregular words. And at the end of every lesson through structured literacy, your students are going to come together, either with a partner, it could be a whole group read, with the decodable text, because we want them to be able to apply the skills that were taught in that lesson into actual text, okay? So you're always gonna start with your structured literacy piece. I'm going to focus a lot of my time here because the other stuff, I've seen the data, I've heard about the great things going on. Everything else is just a new it's just a new curriculum and new text. It's nothing really different from what you've been doing, but that structured literacy, those foundational skills are going to be a shift, okay? Then you have your vocabulary component. You're going to go into a shared reading for my kindergartners. It's going to be a read aloud, writing, and then your small group practice. The district has also purchased Amira and Waggle, which you'll learn more about. But Amira and Waggle, I will just say now, those programs are going to be a major component for our tier 2 and tier 3 support. And they're amazing what they're able to do. And then for our collaborative groups, my friend that mentioned Gifted, our kids that need a little bit of a push, because interventionists are in here, but we have those students that are able to excel. Into Reading offers inquiry and project-based projects at each model, right? So that's a lot of what you can do in your collaborative groups for students that are able. And then we always want to close everything out and reflect on our learning. Are there any questions of what your block can look like? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Question?
I might have missed it. Spelling and handwriting, these standards, where do those fit?
So that will all be within your structured literacy. Once students get to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they have those foundational skills, and that spelling and the handwriting, there are optional components. But to me, it is best practice because that ability to then encode does help in decoding. So just know that is an option, but it is embedded in your structured literacy. Any other questions? Yes.
So I have been looking at this and planning ahead of time.
Okay, advanced. Okay, so you were he's in your accelerator for me.
I've been planning for Amira to be part of the independent practice.
Okay.
But looking at this, it looks like it should be separate.
So this is going to be your whole group guided practice, right? But within that, there are some independent practice within this, right? So when you have your group and you're doing your small groups, that is something. Amira can be an independent practice. It can be one of your centers, like if you have a technology center. So how you integrate it into your classroom is up to you, because HMH, we know instruction and we know research, but you know your kids, right? No one knows your kids better than you. So however you feel like can be incorporated, that's up to you. So that's perfectly fine.
Because that's different than the one I've been looking at. So I just wanted to see if that was
it's fine.
supposed to be separated.
Any other questions before I move forward?
It's breathing in here.
Stand by me.
All right. So what I'm going to show you is our program guide, okay? The program guide is a high leverage overview of Into Reading. It shows your student resources, your teacher resources. It also shows you kind of the research behind Into Reading. Again, you probably will not look at this document beyond today because you're going to live in your teacher's edition. But I do want to give you the opportunity to just see it, and then maybe we can talk about some things you plan on exploring later if you choose to go back to it, right? Raise your hand if you do not have access to Ed. Oh, I'm so happy. So Ed is, that's fine. So I know you don't have, you're the one that
Put your
will-
hand up.
Don't worry, I got you. So I'm going to show you, if you don't have access, don't worry, because all of these things that I'm about to share, you can access through this live. I just want to give everyone additional practice because I think it's important for you to be able to know how to navigate your resource. I'm going to go in and show you.
And I would just add, if you run into issues, I'll check here, but everything for your connection is driven from PowerSchool. So if you haven't for some reason been connected through PowerSchool to a browser or with the school, then you're not going to be classified.
So I ask for those of you that are not able to access, just partner up with a friend.
get into PowerSchool.
And I'm going to model everything on here. So you're going to notice I'm going to be switching between our PowerPoint and Ed because again, instead of just looking at these excerpts, I want you to be able to actually get into the resource so you're able to navigate. All right. So for my friends that are able to get into Ed, your view might look a little bit differently than mine, but it's fine. When we log into Ed, you are going to hover over Discover and click Discover.
Right, you're not going to
All
see
right,
the
raise
classes
your hand
yet.
if you are here. All right, so once we go to Discover, we're going to go to the left-hand side, and we're going to hit All Resources. Once you're in All Resources, you're going to click Program Overview. Once you see that, the top one you should see is Program Guide. They'll be a little hard. If you go ahead and click it, it'll turn red, and I'll show you where that goes once you click the heart. So let's go ahead and explore the Program Guide. If you click the table of contents or the hamburger, you're able to just see an introduction, a program tour, a year at a glance, a module at a glance, a week at a glance, just different things on planning and pacing, assessments, just different options. Go ahead and just look at that so you get familiar with your program guide. If you don't have your program guide and there's something specific you want me to click on, just let me know and I'll do that for you.
Don't do that. Wi-Fi. Like, how many of those you drink a day?
Oh, it's
So it's
fine.
not
No,
like
I was
I'm
trying to see.
lurking behind you.
I think it's because there's so many people on the Wi-Fi.
So your orientation might be different. It might be on the left-hand side versus the top, but you are in the right place. One thing about Ed that you'll learn, just click, 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 so you can't click anymore. You will not break it. Because even they change stuff consistently, and I have to click away sometimes because stuff moves. So just click away so you get to where you're trying to go. So what are some things that you might explore a little bit later on your own time if you choose? What are some things that caught your eyes?
Writer's workshop.
Writer's workshop. Okay, kindergarten, you have a unique experience with writer's workshop for kindergarten. I'm gonna be speaking, when I speak, I'm gonna say kindergarten, this is for you, because you guys have some unique experience.
Well, we're different.
You,
We get told that all the time.
Unique. What else do you see that interests you? The foundational skills, remember, you are always gonna follow structured literacy. What else do you see that's of interest? Options for differentiation. I know my interventionists and my people that are just always looking, how can I best support my kids? That would really like, ooh, that's what I saw. All right, so that is your program guide. Again, a high level overview of in-soup reading. Any questions about that? All right, let's keep, go ahead. Yes, I have
Looking at the into reading learning model that says 60 to 120 minute instructional block. We don't have that. So
What is your time? What is your?
we have 90 minutes, so we have to share that 90 minutes with social studies, and we only have 45 minutes where that teacher pushes in.
I got you. We'll talk about your unique situation. Yeah, it can work because the two districts where I was there Monday and then last week, they only have a 60-minute block. It can work. Any other questions? Don't pray. Any other questions? All right, so we explored our program guide. You might plan to choose, you might plan to do some more exploring later. But first, I want you to be able to see what your students experience. Your students will have what's called a My Book. Kindergarten, your My Book will look a little bit different because you use big books and read aloud, okay? For first and second grade, your My Book will have the text along with interactive activities. Kindergarten, your My Book will just have interactive activities, okay? So I'm gonna show you, before you go in, I'm gonna show you the different, I'm gonna show kindergarten and then I'll do first and second. So I just want you to see how it's a little bit different. So this is what your student will have. They will have an electronic version on the computer, and they will also have a consumable, okay? So how do our students access their reading? Through the what? The My Book, yes. If you don't have access to Ed, you can always go to that excerpt that is on that page, but I want to show you what it looks like. All right, so I'm in kindergarten. Kindergarten, I'm going to show you your view first because it is a unique experience. So I'm logging in, discover. It automatically took me to module 1. Curious about kindergarten. I'm going to go to the My Book. As you see, it says PDF. Because again, the My Book for kindergarten is not an interactive read aloud because you have those big books and your read aloud. It's more of just like engagement. So in their book, the characters are people, animals, or creatures in the story. The setting is where and when the story takes place. Draw a picture of the characters of Keisha and Pam. So which is more interactive, okay? Kindergarten, you'll also notice that your writing is embedded in these interactive activities, okay? Part of your writing is embedded. So this is what your My Book will look like. They will have this, they're able to draw in it, they're able to write in it, very interactive. I'm gonna go to first grade because our first through sixth grade My Books look a little bit different. All right, so I'm gonna go to My Book. Nice to meet you is how we start off module 1 for first grade. Each My Book is going to start off with a quote. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other is gold. Okay, so we're going to start off with a quote. Then as we progress, there's always going to be an essential question. And then there's always gonna be a video to really engage the students, and it's called our Get Curious video. Oh, we don't have sound, but this is going to engage your students and allow them to get curious, okay? Always gonna start with that. Then they'll be able to see their vocabulary words. They can click it, they'll see the definition. Also, they're able to play the audio and it can read to them for our students that need additional support, which will really be all of your students, really first and second grade. You might have some that are able to read it independently. And it's gonna have a short read. Genre study. And then it's gonna go into another video, but this is where their text will be. They'll have it consumable and they have it online. I like the fact of kids having something actually in front of them tangible to be able to open and manipulate. But the benefit of this, especially for my second grade teachers, to prepare them for third, fourth, and fifth grade testing, they're able to annotate in this. They're able to make notes. They're able to highlight. And then as a teacher, when you log in and press the T review, you're able to see everything that your students wrote. So it will say, Andrea, and it'll show you what I'm writing. So, and it'll show, if you go in and you say, okay, I want you to take note of all the characters. And you see that Andrea wrote farm, dog, you know, I need some repeating. So I'll be able to show you everything right here. So it reads aloud to your students, allows them to take notes and annotate. So that is the My Book for your students, okay, for first grade and second grade. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to look at the My Book. So again, you're going to go to Discover. You should automatically default to this module, module 1, and you're going to press My Book. And that My Book experience will pop up. So I just want you to be able to see what your students see and what their experience will be as they go through into reading. Oh, go ahead and play the sound so you can hear the videos. I'm tempted to call Mr. Woody back, but I've been harassing him all day. So I just put it on your computer. Spread in the pink. Spread in the pink. Spread. What grade? Second. All right, so a great question for our shared reading. You asked, they have lexile for your shared reading. Your text in your My Book for your shared reading, they're always going to be above the grade level lexile. Okay? Does anyone know why? It is teacher led. Go ahead. Go ahead.
To push for growth.
Push for growth. Okay. Anybody else? Modeling. Yes. Somebody said vocabulary. Yes. All those things plus more. We know with the science of reading, right? It is decoding and that knowledge of language, right? The big shift from what we used to do to our structured literacy and looking at the science of reading, we don't want to limit students' vocabulary and their language to their comprehension level, to their ability to read, right? So with Into Reading, we know that decoding is important. That's why you get that structured literacy piece, and you're gonna hit that hard. Because that's how our kids know how to decode. But to understand that language, we have rich, rigorous texts that are authentic, They get kids excited about learning, and it's gonna be above their ability, their ability to decode, because we want to expose them to that language. And like you all said, we're modeling, we're showing them that fluency. It's teacher led. We're supporting them. We want to push them, and we want to make sure that their vocabulary is not limited to their ability to decode. So where I taught second grade, I taught in Atlanta Public Schools. I was at the worst school ever. It's closed now. I loved it, but vocabulary and language were very important to me, because even if my kids could not read and decode the words, I never wanted them to be able to have a conversation and they weren't able to take part of it, right? So we know that, again, that language, that knowledge of language, that ability to comprehend language, and that decoding, that's what makes our students be able to read and become proficient readers. So thank you for pointing that out. It will show you, but I'm letting you know now, the Lexile is going to be a lot higher. You will have, so another thing, we do offer leveled readers, right? But because we are moving towards the science of reading, we're going to call them skilled text, right? And you will have these in your big boxes of resources, but I want to encourage you, if you use those, don't, like I know when I taught like with balanced literacy, you have your level readers and teach comprehension from that. I would just urge you just to use it as like an independent read, right? We don't want to limit their comprehension to those level texts, okay? Anything that you saw that will engage your student. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, so the volume, you don't have to play it. Yes. So on their, what kind of devices do your kids have? Chromebooks. So they can manipulate the volume.
But we can't, as a teacher, just shut it off altogether?
No. Because it is on their individual device. But again, if you don't want them to have volume, you have that hard book. You have that consumable. This is just an option.
We want it read to them, we want them to, experience the struggle, productive struggle.
Right.
But I just want to I would like to turn it off if I could.
So, but you can just use the consumable for that, yeah. Any other questions? So what do you see that will engage your students? What do you see that will engage them? What do you see that might get them excited about reading? Real pictures. The colors are, I love the colors. It makes me excited to read. What do you notice about the text? It's large. There's a variety of different text options for your students, right? And we talked about this a little bit to support our youngest learners. With our kindergarten, again, they're going to have the big books and the read aloud. But for our students that are also struggling, you will have the ability to let them listen to it. So that's the way to support them. They can annotate if they need additional support. They can highlight, and you're able to see what they do. So then if they have questions, you can go back and review that and then support your students. What do you notice about the types of questions asked? So in those questions, what do you notice? They're personal, so it allows them to make connections to the text. And they're going to be questions that really allow and really force our students to think, not just what is the character's name, okay? So that depth of knowledge, we're going to be at a 2, 3, or 4, never really a 1 with each shared reading. If you have any questions about our program overview, our program guide, and what our students will experience during their shared reading portion. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so this is where I'm going to need your undivided attention, because I don't want you to get lost in ed because you are choosing a different path. I want to make sure you go to the correct section. And with kindergarten, you are going to have some specific things tailored to you, okay? So we talked about what our students will, do we need a break before I go? Okay. So we talked about what our students will experience, what they will experience, but how will we get them there? What will we use to get them there? So you're going to have a teacher's guide, okay? You're going to have a teacher's guide. You're also going to have your editable weekly plan. You're going to have a teaching pal and your writer's workshop teacher's guide. Kindergarten, where you at? Where you at? Okay, kindergarten. All right. This teaching pal, you don't have, okay? Because our teaching pal is for our students' books. Your kids don't have a book because they follow what you're reading in your read alouds and your big books. But you do have what's called book sticks. So the teaching pal is, if I know when I taught, I have my teacher's edition and I had little post-it notes like, oh, I have to ask them this, I have to get to this. This is a good question. You don't have to do that anymore. Because your teaching pal is an annotated version. Slide. Your teaching pal is an annotated version of the My Book. Okay? It's going to tell you what to ask, and then your TE is going to tell you ask these things or whatever. But in kindergarten, you don't have that. You have book sticks where it guides your read aloud. Okay? Also in kindergarten, this writing workshop teacher's guide you do not have, because writing is embedded throughout the curriculum, and it will be in your main resource. Okay? But first and second, where are you? You will have your teacher's guide. You will have a teaching pal, and you will have a writing workshop teacher's guide. Okay? Anyone have any questions about what you'll get? Sorry. So before I go to that, I also want to tell you this. Oh, go ahead.
What does the book stick look like? I don't know if
It should look like a bookmark.
It's they're yellow stickies. So it's a little pad that you'll pull off, and they're super, super sticky on the back, so you don't have to worry about them falling off. But they're like in a little cellophane wrapped little pad.
We can figure out which box, because ours is slowly starting to come in. We just still haven't seen it yet, so I just want to know what it looks like.
Theoretically, it would be your box with your big books, but if you've already, if you unpack that whole box and don't find them, when you open up, the kits that have your sound cards and other things in there, when you've gone through everything and don't see them, let your AT know, and then we'll look for them. I've already let our rep who's here today know that we may be missing some books.
Okay,
Yes.
All right, so in addition to your teacher's edition, your teaching pal, and your writer's workshop book, remember there are two different ways to teach foundational skills and English reading. Camden County is choosing the structured literacy path, which is really grounded in the work that you've already been doing, and just a refined way of teaching based on the research, and it really aligns well to your new standards, okay? So because you have structured literacy, you are going to have an additional TE, or structured literacy, okay? Structured literacy, it will follow a scope and sequence. It will have teacher guidance, and it will also provide you with slides, okay? And then you have your student practice bundles. Are there any questions about that? I'm kind of going out of this. Go ahead.
Can you change like the size and put information different and all?
So you can, but why? Because why reinvent the wheel? So into reading really makes you work smarter instead of harder. Everything is going to be laid out for you, and it follows a specific scope and sequence. But what you can do to that, if you find that students master certain sounds or words and you need to go through your lesson, you can definitely take it out. Yeah. Any questions?
Will the principal, like the bundles that you're talking about, the symbol bundles, are those already printed in boxes, or do we need to know?
So your district has purchased a lot of things, and some of the, you do have to know what show it books though. So a lot of stuff you already have, so I don't want to speak exactly because you have a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
There might be a few resources
So
you have
some
to
of
print.
them
Yeah, you might have a few resources you have to print. All right. So we talked about all of our planning guides. So we have our teacher's edition. We have what else?
Writing workshops.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, we have two note shows. We have the regular and the
Yeah.
structured. Are we
Yes.
supposed to have those?
Yes.
Okay.
That's when we get to that purple.
Yes, the purple. All right, so as a recap, you have your teacher's guide. You're gonna have your regular teacher's guide that aligns to one know and show it, and your structured literacy teacher's guide that aligns to the other know and show it. You're gonna have your teaching pal, the kindergarten. What do you have instead? The book sticks. Writing workshop, the kindergarten. What do you have?
It's embedded.
It's embedded. Yes. Oh my goodness. No tier 2 or tier 3 plans needed over here. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna break down the structure of into reading. Everything starts with a module. This is gonna go for your writing as well. It's in a module. You have modules. First and second, you have 12 modules. Each module has 3 weeks. Okay? Kindergarten, you have 9. Each module is 4. You guys already know this. Look at you in.
Sneak and peeking.
I love it. The module structure. Kindergarten will speak directly to you on this one. You're going to launch each module. Okay? All grade levels launch a module. A module for first through second is what? How many weeks? 3 weeks. You launch it one time. Kindergarten, because we know our babies need that reinforcement, you're going to launch the module each Monday. You're going to relaunch. You're going to launch it and then relaunch it. So how many launches to the module are you going to have, kindergarten? Yes! Get your brain, kindergarten. I love it.
Are you sure you didn't teach kindergarten? Kiss your brain, that's a kindergarten thing.
I know. That's what I tell my baby. Or I go, squeeze down the back. That's what I tell my baby. All right, so you're going to launch the module. Then you're going to teach the module, okay? This purple. In your original TE is going to say foundational skills, ignore it, because you're going to use that, like my first in the back, structural literacy. But you're going to have vocabulary in your shared reading. Then you're going to wrap up the module and then assess, okay? There are some assessments embedded before you get to the end of the module, but that's typically how it goes. Any questions on that?
How do you launch the module?
How do you launch it? Oh,
With a
I
rocket?
got you. We're gonna get into it because I want you to feel prepared your first week, okay? We'll get into it. What'd you say?
I said with a rock.
Any questions? All right, so your weekly instruction. So we know we have our module, then we have our weeks. Each module is going to show your essential skills. So what are you hitting in this week? You're going to be able to see a page where all the text that you're able to use for that week, they're going to be on there. Then you're going to have your week at a glance. And I like to look at that first, like before I start playing, like tell me where I'm going. What is going on? And then you'll have your literacy center. So I know based on your scope and sequence that was shared with your district specific things, the focus right now is going to be your structured literacy, your shared reading, and your vocabulary. We're not worrying about centers yet, okay? But it is part of the model. So your week at a glance. This is what it's going to look like, okay? When you go into your regular TE and you see foundational skills, what are you going to do?
Go to the structure.
Highs, okay? But I am going to show you what it looks like because again, I want you to have more practice in ed. Okay, we're gonna go into it, but let me get this out the way real quick because this is not writing is also not a focus in your scope and sequence from your district. Not a focus that first couple of weeks, okay? But I'm going to show you. You do have first and second grade teachers. You do have the writing workshop teacher's guide. It follows modules as well. So you'll align the module from your reading to the writing. There are 2 different ways to teach the writing instruction. You are going to follow the scope and sequence that just lays it out real easy. 1, 2, 3, follow module 1, follow module 2. But if you have students and my interventionists and also my homeroom teachers, when you do need to kind of conference with your students, you're able to go in and see specific grammar lessons to reinforce those skills. So I'm going to show you writing first. We're going to get that out the way, and then we're going to get into it. Capiche? All right. So, yes. You don't have to look.
I don't want to blurt.
You don't have to apologize for any question, right? This is all new. I'm the queen of questions, so I love it.
You mentioned, because I just picture myself possibly getting overwhelmed with all the locations. You mentioned that the writing is a separate TE. On the plans, the lesson plans that are given to us, is writing incorporated there so we know to go to the TE?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'm showing you where everything lives individually, but I'm going to show you your resource where you can edit everything, and it'll tell you where to go. The biggest thing about instant reading, or what's gonna be, I don't even want to call it a struggle. I don't want to call it a struggle. Give me another word. Challenge. Challenge. Okay, we can say challenge. Or opportunity of growth. We're gonna phrase it positively, right? Just being, once you get your head around like, oh, this is where I go for this, this is where I go for this, it's gonna go like this. You're gonna get to that systematic, explicit instruction. Your kids are gonna be reading, and then I'm gonna read about it in the news, like Hampton County, kindergarten to second grade teacher did this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. It'll be great. All right, I'm gonna show you writing first so you can get that out the way. Oh, when you love something, when you go to Discover, you go to My Favorites, it pops up. So make sure you love everything because it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to navigate. So you're gonna go to Discover. For some of you, it might be on the left-hand side. You're gonna click All Resources, and we're gonna go to. I should have brought a power strip. Writing. Be editing this as we speak, because what should pop up is writer's workshop. That should pop up.
And I got introduction to printable rubrics on mine above writer's workshop.
Oh, so you're able to see the writer's workshop?
Yes.
Okay, click on that. For some reason, mine is not there. It was there this morning. So I'm assuming because we are a responsive company, when people make suggestions or they update it, they really update.
Writer's workshop. Third one down on mine.
It should say writer's work. Oh, you know why? Because I'm in kindergarten. Duh.
Girl, come on. See, you really want to be a kindergarten teacher. I'm just saying. Stars are aligning.
You went back to kindergarten.
Which is a great place to be. Well.
All right, writing workshop table of contents. Go ahead and love it, so it'll be in your favorites. All right, so what you'll see in your table of contents. Or I'm gonna go just to the table of contents. All right, so just like in reading, gone are the days where you have to master a standard and then you move on, right? Just like the standards in reading now and how they spiral, our writer's workshop is going to work the same way. For instance, in module 1, where you have a narrative, you'll also have narrative writing, again in module 5, in module 6, module 8. And that's where all the places you're getting narrative writing, but everything kind of spirals, okay? So that is your writing workshop table of contents. So this is your TE for writing. You also have a consumable copy of this. All right, so let's go out of that because I do want to show you the targeted grammar practice. Go ahead and go to Discover. And regardless of your grade band, you have access to all the grades for the grammar practice. We're going to go to All Resources. And we're going to go to Grammar. And there are several mini lessons you can love. If there's specific things, you see they have nouns, connect writing using nouns, just different options that you're able to get. That's all I'm going to really hit for writing because it's not a focus for your district initially. It's not an initial focus. And it's fine because writing, again, even if you're not teaching it explicitly and following the module, it's embedded in everything that you're going to be doing. All right, so I really want to get into these lesson plans. But I want you to be able to plan. All right, before we do this, I need everybody to breathe in. I'm just kidding, it's not going to be that bad. Do you want to take a break before we get into it? Yeah. Okay, so it's 1:07. You can come back at 1:15. That's fine? Yeah.
This is the structure.